Hello all, welcome to Research Method KSM 3503. So today we are going to talk about an overview of research method. So what is research? Research is actually a procedure that social scientists or any scientists use to seek for answers. It is a systematic procedure of looking for answers to problems that we intend to study. Okay, as a psychologist, you will have questions about why certain people behave or think or feel in a certain way. So you use the research approach to find answers for the questions that you have using scientific method. What do you mean by scientific method? Scientific method is usually a systematic procedure, a transparent procedure in conducting a study. So there is a procedure, a clear procedure, a standard to follow in order to achieve or in order to answer the research question. Usually the scientific method is empirical and it is a very systematic, controlled observation or process. Because as you remember, when you're doing experiments in schools, everything is a systematic, scientific approach, because there is a proper standard operating procedure that you follow, and that standard operating procedure will ensure that you will get a right, correct result. Okay, so research has their own standard operating procedures. So basically in our research method class, we are going to learn what is the standard operating procedures for conducting a research in psychology. And every research that we talk about should have an empirical approach and also a skeptical attitude into it. So what is the goal of scientific method? What is the goal of doing a research? Why do you even do a research? What do you want to do? So there are four main goals that you would like to achieve. Firstly, you want to get some description of the information or about an event or phenomenon. You want to make predictions. You could also use research for explanation and also for application purposes. So what is the goal of description? We would like to use this research, the proper standard operating procedures in the research to describe about an event, about a phenomenon that happens, about an incident that you are trying to elaborate about. Okay, so it is actually a very simple procedure that we use to define, to classify. So for example, if you are interested to know the preference or people's preference in eating out during COVID-19. So what you do is you would like to just describe about people's preferences, people's decision on eating out. So you're just making a descriptive study, a very, very simple and basic study. You can also look into predictions. See, a lot of studies about predictions are when you are trying to forecast what could happen if you have a certain information. Okay, so just like on everyday life. So if you have 10 ringgit Malaysia today, you can project whether you can survive for the entire week or you might need to add on or withdraw more money. See, so what you're doing is with the information that you have currently, you are making predictions or you forecast what the future or the information might look like. So that can be done using a research as well. In this example, does early loss of parent make a child especially vulnerable to depression? So what you're trying to make here is we are trying to predict about depression from the information that we have, which is children who lost their parent. So with the information of children who lost their parent, can we project or can we predict that they will have depression or not. Okay, so that is a type of prediction studies that you can do. The next is explanation studies. So explanation is, as the name goes, we are trying to find causes. We want to understand what is actually causing a phenomenon to happen, a condition to happen, an issue to occur. So we would like to find the reasons, the causes. So this is usually we would like to examine through experimental method. So we would like to see if a certain event is actually causing or influencing another event or another condition. Okay, so for example, if you are interested in studying about post-traumatic stress disorder or anxiety disorder, and then you say that, okay, the causes could be the causes could be a lot of stress or unhappy life. So what you can do is maybe in the study you can look into what are the if you manipulate, if you have people who are happy, people with less happy, will they have different anxiety levels? So at least we know the cause is actually people are not being happy. So we are trying to prove that these are the causes of being somebody, for a person to be unhappy or having anxiety, and the cause is being unhappy. So what we can do as a psychologist is, in future you can help treat people to be happier. So you can suggest treatments or suggest therapies to be happier. So the research is actually to find causes, and these causes is actually trying to prove this is the reason why an event or an outcome is happening. So as a researcher, you would like to examine why is actually these things important, how is actually it's impacting a person's life or a situation or a phenomenon. Okay? And the more advanced one is the application studies. So what researchers usually do in application study is they apply the knowledge that they have, and they would like to see if that helps to improve people's life, or even it is a good method. So application means you are using the knowledge to determine whether it is working or not. Okay, so again, like maybe you have learned CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, you have learned might as well like play therapy. So all these therapies, maybe you have learned the application. Now you would like to see whether any of these therapy is, which one is the best therapy in order to address stress disorder among children. So is it cognitive behavioral or play therapy? So application meaning that you are trying to impose a technique or a training or an application, and then you like to see how far it is actually working, how far is it effective in people's life. So basically, so research output, when you talk about research, it is a systematic procedure. It is a standard operating procedure. So when you have a standard procedure, end of the day, you will have a product. What is the product that we get at the end of doing a research? So you can actually convey the research information in many formats. Research results, whether it is an application study or a description study, if it is an explanation study or a prediction study, you can write out the results or the study through original research. So you can write to research journals, you can write articles to be published on the research that you conduct, on the study that you conduct. Okay, so that is what we call original research. There are also short reports or letters. Sometimes if you are a very experienced person in the field, maybe you want to talk about cognitive behavioral therapy during COVID-19, for example. So if you notice, cognitive behavioral therapy, there is stages of implementation, but in the context of COVID-19, maybe there are something that you have remodified. Maybe there are some steps that you can ignore because of this COVID-19 pandemic. So you are proposing a new approach to the CBT. So you don't have to write in length. You can just write a short report or a letter to inform the audiences about your new idea or your new research. There are also review articles. So these review articles is actually a comprehensive summary of research on a certain topic, meaning there are a lot of people pretty much like every day, every minute is actually writing a paper on a particular topic. Like for example, COVID-19 papers. There are a lot of studies on COVID-19. What are they trying to tell us? They are trying to gather information from worldwide on a particular topic. So what we can do is we can take all this topic and make a review, make an overall study on all these COVID-19 papers to know what is the direction of this COVID-19 is actually heading to. Maybe there are studies about COVID-19 medication, COVID-19 coping skills. So maybe there are studies about coping strategies for COVID-19 in India, in Malaysia, in England, in the United States. So what is the overview of all this coping style? So when you do such a research, you can produce a review article. There are also case studies. So when you conduct clinical cases, you can also do a research on them because you know you will actually intend to see progress in them. So you can do case studies. If you want to study about a person's COVID-19 recovery patient, for example, so you have monitored them from the day that they were diagnosed, they were tested positive until they recover and they went back home. So the journey of them, it is actually a case study. And you might also conduct it with multiple people who have admitted on the same time so that you can see what is the overall experience they had and also how did they react to medication. So it is actually trying to synthesize the information case by case. And this case is COVID-19 recovered patients. And also methodological or methods paper. Okay, these are articles presents new way of conducting a statistical analysis or new approach of conducting a research, because there could be some ideas on doing experimental during COVID-19 when you have no access to them. How do you control for the environment? How do you control that they are in a total isolation? Okay, how do you it is not like lab rats, you can put them in one place and then try to control them not doing anything, but we are human beings. So when you're doing like experimental studies, how could you do that successfully without any problems or any bias during this COVID-19 period? So maybe you can come up with a new way of doing it. So you can write up that too as a research. So maybe there is new softwares, new ways of data collection. All these could be new information that you can share with larger audiences. Research is actually a very tedious process. As the name goes, it is very systematic. You feel like you know it, but sometimes at the same time you feel like you don't know what are you actually doing. It is a process that you have to internalize a lot and you have to read a lot. You have to make connection between statistics and also research method along with other of your main discipline subjects, whether it's going to be clinical, social, abnormal, personality, any of it. So it is, when it comes to research, is an integration of all the topics, all the subjects that you have learned so far. It will be a painful process to understand the concepts, to really integrate all the information, but that is the best part and the beautiful part of doing a research, the integration of knowledge from all the discipline, and you are trying to produce a research output that will be beneficial for a lot of people. So as the picture shows it, at some point you will feel I hate research, but when you reach that stage, that is actually trying to tell that you understood how to do a research.